Hello, friends. We are currently coordinating microphones, but we are now good. So the panel today is basically about launching DAOs and launching and then coordinating humans. And so basically, these are three amazing humans from three amazing DAOs, and I'm from FireEye's DAO. And so I thought today we would have some interesting discussion on what we think about DAOs collectively. So the first question to open it up is, what is the favorite? So, launching the DAO and going through the steps that you guys have done, what's your favorite part or a unique story that you guys have from your individual decentralized governance or launching or coordinating your DAO that is your favorite one-line pitch of coordination?
We actually don't have a DAO at the Graph. We have a Graph Council is the main governance. It's a 6 of 10 multi-sig. We have external core dev teams that all contribute. So the initial team that built the Graph is just one of many teams. And we have a really vibrant grants program which funds hundreds of individual projects and individuals to contribute to the ecosystem. So for us, it's really been a process of progressive decentralization, where we've really enfranchised all of the contributors to participate and make sure that they get rewarded proportional to their contributions. And that's allowed us to be really effective in this process of decentralization.
I guess this is just one moment, but it was a funny moment. When we decided back in 2020 that we were going to shut down our foundation, we had to break it to our lawyers. And we were on a call with them, and we're like, so we're gonna get rid of all of our entities. And there was this pause for 30 seconds, and they were just like, what in the fuck are you even talking about? And we're like, no, trust, it's gonna work. We're just gonna shut all of our entities down. And they were like, this is insane. But it took us about I think 2 or 3 months to get their heads around it and get them to a point where they're like, okay, you're still insane, but we'll let you do it. But it was just a really funny moment where they were like, what have we gotten ourselves into?
I would say not the funniest moment, but the greatest community we have right now. Communities are these groups that provide services to the DAO. So actually we had the strategic happiness community. And it is managed by Andrew, a guy from the community who just thought, okay, Maker is so serious. You all agree that Maker is super serious, right? So he wants to bring memes and the happiness and spread the joy between the community and the DAO in general. So that's awesome. I'm super happy to have a community that help us to be not so serious.
So let's go into that. So that idea of happiness is if you work at a normal company and it's a big tower in New York, it's you go to work every day and you sort of don't like the people you work with. It's bad vibes. Hopefully what we're actually building here is more peaceful and open and fun a lot of the time, right? So thinking about again being in three pretty different places when it comes to the decentralization or the DAOification, what do you guys do as founders and contributors to try and do that? So when you're on a call, if someone says something kind of not fun or not bad vibes, would you call that out? Or how would you deal with your community not being as nice or fun as you would like as a founder? I mean, you guys, as founders and as contributors, how would you deal with that?
We curate all of the community calls because we have a lot of different participants. We want to make sure we make the most use of that time. So for us, I think people do the work kind of ahead of time, and then on the calls we're just kind of just getting through everything. So I think we're having fun, but we're also getting a lot done.
I think our culture mainly came from Discord. So, through the bear market, that was kind of one of the only cool places to hang out. And there was just a vibe of no one cares, people don't give a shit, a lot of memes and just dumb stuff. And so when we started formalizing governance and bringing community members in, that kind of carried over. But we definitely have had periods where we've had people on the council that were maybe a little bit too serious. And I think it's like kind of self-policing, right? Like you need the other people to sort of have a conversation with them and be like, all right, like chill out. You're like being a little bit aggressive or whatever. But you know, it's coordination, right? Like people just need to like work together and make sure that everyone's kind of getting along as best that they can. But you know, for me, I try not to step in and be like, hey, don't do this or whatever. It's kind of up to the community to set the standards.
It's an interesting question because we have like a group that moderates the conversation in the forum. That is like the main tool we use in the DAO. But sometimes you can perceive that moderation could be censorship. So it's kind of complicated. Like we all have got discussions in the forum and we try to be very respectful with others' ideas. Sometimes, like, of course, there are trolls. Like recently, there was a proposal in the forum from Olympus DAO, and a lot of people who usually is not in the forum just came in and was just like trolling in the conversation. So yeah, you know when someone is not part of the community, that happens. But yeah, we have a Gov Alpha group that is helping us moderating the discussion.
Interesting. And so like that was actually like 3 pretty different answers, right? In terms of like curating community calls and being like really purposeful with who's in the room and how it's being discussed, you know, and then sort of like YOLOing it and not really clear and sort of letting the ideas flow naturally. And then sort of like a middle ground of, you know, wanting to YOLO it, but also being conscious of, you know, I mean, we're all conscious, but sort of a middle ground. And so like, do we think that we have different rooms in the future where maybe you have like a curated community call where people can listen, everyone can listen, but not everyone can speak, and then you have a full YOLO community call? Like, should we be building different rooms for different people, or should it just always be one room?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I think the tooling for DAOs is super immature. It's awesome, like, you know, at Lisbon, I'm already talking to so many different teams that are building DAO tooling. And things like just how you manage your community calls can be way improved. Like we shouldn't be doing this stuff on Zoom, shouldn't be doing this stuff on Discord. It should be a lot more fluid. How you create these rooms, how you create like permissioning, whether it's token-based or like contributions-based, being able to actually like get credit for stuff that you're doing on the calls. So yeah, I think we should be designing like all new experiences and make it, you know, more fun and fluid.
I think for synthetics, we've had this idea of like what is a legitimate process, right, within decentralized governance, and what is not a legitimate process. And so, you know, when we started off, we had all of these kind of vestigial elements from the foundation era where there was a group of people that had authority to do things, and they kind of maintained that authority just via like the status quo. It was just kind of momentum. And so kind of picking those things apart and saying, okay, for our community calls, like who has a legitimate role, like who is legitimately allowed to interact and who's not, has been something that we've tried to like leave up to the community. But it is a bit challenging sometimes to like work out like, should it be the core contributors who are doing this? Should it be, you know, people on the council? Should it be any community member can say whatever they want? I think it has to be a bit of an organic process, but it's definitely challenging.
Yeah, I think it's the same for us. It's an organic process and it's always evolving. We are a DAO and we are open to any proposal from the community, and sometimes a proposal can like be to change how things are done, and that's okay. If maker holders support that idea, we have to go in that direction. So it's an always ongoing process.
Yeah.
And I think what you'd want ideally is to start with, you know, a process that's really open so that anybody can contribute. And like if you have hundreds or thousands of people that are like part of your DAO, you still want them to be able to like get into rooms, talk, have discussions. But then, you know, attention is finite and limited. So having like curation mechanisms where you can kind of, you know, pull the best ideas in and still kind of, you know, curate down the line, but, you know, open participation and then curation.
There's actually 2 things there I want to talk about, but that made me think about one of, so something that we're doing at FireEyes is being really conscious of, it's really cool to be launching governance and tokens, but if it's just, you know, 4 of us doing it, it's actually not that cool and pretty centralized. And so like going into the next year, thinking about how we can build like FireEye's University, right? Or like Fire Spawn or whatever we come up with, like basically like a YC model for people inside of governance. And one idea, thinking about that curation is actually Kyle from Gitcoin said that like what they did at Twitter was they would have these like open meetings where like a pre-agenda or like a large document would be like circulated to everyone. Everyone would throw in, like the whole community would comment and make threads and discuss. And then like a curated group of people would come on and like actually talk about those comments and go through it and like get to new conclusions. So, like thinking about your DAOs and like the way that you communicate and coordinate, do you guys have any other cool ideas like that we can like start to implement as a wider ecosystem so that, again, you can have that curation, but you can still have like a completely open YOLO experience?
I think the loudest voice should always win. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the trick. There is a fundamental trade-off there. So, I think it can be multiple stages. You can have like some calls. So we have a community call where like anybody can speak, and we're trying to actually get more engagement. And then we have governance calls and like other calls that are just a lot more curated. I think it helps us separate it.
I think one of the things that we did early on in Synthetics was we made a decision in Discord to have basically no moderation, right? Which was a controversial decision, I think, at the time. There were a lot of communities that were like pretty heavily moderated, no price discussion, no talking about like tokens, no talking about like other random stuff. And we just created a place where and degen trading, which is one of the channels in our Discord, is probably one of the like most highly populated places in crypto, right? There's like thousands of people in there every day, like hundreds and hundreds of messages. And I think that while like making a space which is totally unmoderated and just chaos can be very distracting, if you kind of put it in its own little spot and let people participate as they want, they can kind of dip in and dip out. It's okay, like you can get away with it. But if you just had every single forum or every single discussion just open to everyone, it would be too chaotic.
Now that you mentioned Discord, I have a great announcement to make. Maker is now on Discord, guys. We're not on Rocket Chat anymore. That's awesome. So, yeah. Thank you. I know. So coordination it's key. It's super complicated. Also, because we have the extended community, the crypto ecosystem, different core units. So it's a challenge. We are learning on how to do it. That's why we are now on Discord.
Yeah, so Maker 2021, now on Discord. Excellent. And I think that was actually a conversation that me and Kain had last week in New York. And what Kain said was that he's deleting Zoom, right? So like you can no longer have any synthetics-based call on Zoom. You have to have it in Discord, which is I think actually like a really interesting step. Because right now, it's like if you're coordinating your DAO and it's like we do it on Google Hangouts sometimes and we do it on Zoom other times or XYZ platform, there's actually like a lot of information that gets lost, right? Like who's writing down those notes? That chat log of, a lot of the times on those calls, there's like really good quality shit in the chat log that just gets completely deleted when you end that Zoom call. And so like my opinion is basically like all DAO, until we get better tooling, maybe we get better tooling in the future, we don't have to use Discord. But for now, all DAOs should be using only Discord for any communication at all.
I really just want Web3 native apps for all of this stuff. And I just think like that needs to be a Web3 app, right? And like just the tools for coordination, like why can't that be a micro task or something? Pay somebody some crypto to transcribe the notes, pay somebody some crypto to go through and like pull out the best ideas. I think that is where we should be going, hopefully like sooner rather than later. I actually wrote a PRD specifically for a product that would be doing like these kind of like Zoom calls. Because I think you do benefit from high bandwidth communication. I think you'd lose a lot out from that. I mean, when you can get people in a room, at a place like, LisCon, you can just do certain types of like, discussions that are hard to do on Zoom. Zoom is higher bandwidth communication than Discord. So I think we do want to kind of have like the fullest expression of collaboration that we can have and then get the tools to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just Zoom for us. We also got rid of Slack. So we said, there's not going to be two places, one where the core contributors communicate, one where the community communicates. We're going to combine them. And as soon as you do that, it just forces a level of engagement. And then all the community calls happen in Discord, all the conversations there. And it just, I think, kind of engenders this much more transparent kind of idea that, we don't go into this little place where we hide over here and have conversations, then come and tell you, community, what's happening. It's like the conversation's happening in the same place where the community exists. And the more you consolidate that into a single platform like Discord, it just has this momentum and kind of becomes self-perpetuating.
Yeah, although we are new on Discord, but we have been always on Rocket Chat. And Rocket Chat has always been open to anyone who want to use Rocket Chat, of course. But yeah, conversations that are transparent. Maybe Rocket Chat or chats in general, I think are a little bit messy. So that's why we have the forum. And the forum for us is okay, if it's on Discord, but you want to do something besides just talking about it, you have to post it in the forum, and that's the best way to communicate your ideas and get feedback from the community. So I think the forum is open, it's transparent, and it's the place where you can find the best discussions, ideas, conversations about around Maker.
And so that raises a really good point of the forum, right? So while I was doing some research on our panelists, I was looking at forums of all the different projects, because I think Discord is really amazing, but Discord is so busy. I'm in 100 Discords, and every one has 1,000 notifications, and I get a minor brain tumor every time I'm opening Discord. And so a forum is at least a more peaceful version. So Synthetics is a different example, but so in the past 24 hours, the Graph has had 3 posts on the forum, Synthetics has had 0, and Maker's had 12. So, thinking about those different stats, is that something that you are building for? Do you think long tail communication is important? Do you think it should happen on a different platform? What do you think about forums, and what do you think about your place in that order?
I would love for it all to be in a single place, but we don't have the tooling yet. For us, the initial discussions start in Discord usually. Then if you have a pretty well-formed idea, you create a post in the forum. There you can have discussion. We're soliciting feedback, and we actively reach out to people and ask them, hey, can you share your thoughts? And we want to get it captured in a single thread. And then if an idea really has legs, and somebody writes up an actual proposal, and that proposal is hosted on Radical. And then we have a snapshot pull, and then it goes to a final council vote. So I would love for all of those things to be in a single place, so you can really track it, but the tooling isn't quite there. But we do put a lot of effort in, and we have at least one person, and there's actually more, that are full-time focused on facilitating governance, because it is herding cats. You can have people that they're not just hanging out in the forum every day, but if they get a ping, they can jump in and share their thoughts, and so you can actively engage folks, and I think that might be one of our secrets. Yeah, I mean, we love as much participation as we can get. I'm not I mean, I am competitive, but if we'll give Maker the #1 spot there, I'm fine with that.
I think with research forums and things like that, you look at ETH research, it does take a lot of effort, right? There's a lot of communication overhead to ensure that people continue to use it, because people will kind of go back to wherever they habitually are used to communicating. And so if you try and kick them out to another platform, you really need to do a good job of kind of incentivizing them to do it. And I don't think Synthetics does a very good job of that. I'm guilty of it. I never go there. It's just something that's not that well used. But I do think one of the valuable aspects of those kinds of research forums is it does force someone to really think about what they're trying to communicate, rather than just YOLO posting some random comment in Discord. They've got to actually go, okay, I'm writing a thing, people are going to read it, it's longer form typically, and it's just a little bit more thoughtful. But again, if you don't do it, you don't curate it, then it's not going to happen.
Well, we use a lot the forum because, as I told you, like, yes, we have like conversations on the chat, but the forum is where you like can organize your ideas and convert your ideas into proposals and actions, and that's what matters in a DAO. Like, you need people to like really do stuff. So the forum helps us a lot with that. The problem is that we use it that much that there's like a lot of information. So if you are not completely deep into Maker, it could be hard for you to just like understand what's happening. So I don't know. I just dream about like, I don't know, maybe a TikTok for forum DAO, something like that I just like swap and see on my feed what's relevant for me. I need like
We should definitely do that.
Yes, please. Devs,
Yeah.
do that.
So this is a DAO. We just made a DAO now, and we are willing to fund TikTok for governance forums. No problem. If you want to build that, come and see us after this, and we'll actually make that happen. Okay. So then thinking about sort of like to flip the numbers of, Synthetics lost the forum, you got 0, but Synthetics does win the total number of governance proposals submitted. So Synthetics has 187 synthetic improvement proposals that have been submitted since its inception. The Graph has 4, and Maker has 60, right? So 4, 187, and 60. So thinking about all of those different proposals that have happened, and the way of whether you would actually, maybe some things can happen without it being a proposal, so you have a different structure. But, do you think that as contributors to DAOs that we should be maximizing just for the number of proposals, or is there other structures that we can build where you don't need to have as many?
I think that's more a reflection of us being bad at doing things correctly the first time than it is anything else. Like, how many of those are like repeat things where it's like, okay, let's try this again, let's try this again, let's try this again. So we do have like a culture of like very fast iteration. So we'll do like a small piece of something. So I think that probably contributes to our high numbers. I'm actually surprised it's not higher, to be honest.
Yep. By the time something becomes a proposal, usually for the Graph, it's gotten like really far. So as an example, a first step, as I mentioned, is you post on the forum, and we just Brandon, our research lead, posted an upgrade proposal for curation, the curation mechanism in the protocol, and his initial forum post already had a whole like agent-based simulation. You could go in and you could actually like run this in a notebook and, had a bunch of like tests. And so that's kind of like a first step. Then we have a bunch of discussions. So, by the time something lands as a proposal, it's really something that basically everybody that could have eyes on it has already like, stamped that it's ready to go to mainnet. And then we just do that kind of for a final vote.
Well, we have a very well-established process about how to propose something, and then you have like a time for comments, then you have like a signal request, a pull request, an executive vote. There's a whole process for proposals, but we also know that sometimes we need like another velocity to solve things. So we are just like trying to find the best way to treat like the very urgent proposals and how to think about these like emergency proposals against like a proposal that could change the core of the protocol and could affect like how the protocol works. So I think we are learning and trying to implement new processes.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. And it's interesting to look at like those forum posts and the distribution of forum posts, and then looking at like the distribution of proposals. And like, I think Maker wins. I think Maker comes first, coming the top for forum posts and the middle for proposals submitted. And then you guys are maybe tied for second place on governance participation. But so in the last couple of minutes, like, in 2017, we started launching tokens, and they were utility tokens, and you were going to pay for tacos with your tokens, and they were pretty meaningless. And like, actually Maker launched in 2017 with not that, so you guys win. But there was a lot of shit. Then we sort of waited a couple of years, the number went down, and we started focusing on governance. And regardless of securities laws and like shit that I don't really care about, you know, thinking about how like the word governance is actually meant to, you know, what does that mean to you as, you know, contributors to something that has an equity company, right? Well, yes, no, and yes. Or foundation, right? Foundation and then no and then yes. So, you know, we have these traditional structures that we have to sit inside of while we have something called a governance token. And so how do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so we don't have a governance token, right? For us, you know, GRT is a work token. It's used by different participants in the network. Governance is super important. You know, I think it's the way that you make decisions, right, in the protocol. It could be how you distribute resources, protocol parameters, upgrades to the protocol. And, you know, we've always just thought about governance as, you know, the ideal state of governance is to have a meritocracy. And there's a lot of ways that you can try to determine, you know, who's in the best position, you know, based on their knowledge or their contributions to have more power in the system. But that's like a distinct problem that we're trying to get closer and closer to solving.
I think we were crazy enough back in the day to just YOLO build a token that had cash flow and not give a fuck about it, which was, again, kind of controversial. Now it's a bit more reasonable. It only evolved into a governance token later when we dissolved the foundation and started to hand governance over to the community. So there was a period where it was like genuinely a token that only did a thing, it acted as collateral, you got paid fees for staking, et cetera. And then we had to work out a way to kind of back it into being a governance token, which I think in some ways was good because we had an existing governance framework that was kind of within our Discord and within the community. But it's definitely created some issues where like the kind of architecture of the token doesn't really support being a governance token as well as it might. So we're redesigning the entire system. V3 is going to have governance kind of enshrined in the token much more closely, and it's going to be much easier to participate in governance.
That was alpha, by the way. This V3 governance and magic synthetics is coming.
Well, yeah, governance is super important for us as well because the future of the protocol depends on governance and maker holders voting. So the governance token is one of the most important parts of the protocol. Even with that, saying that, we are, well, recently Rune posted in the forum a proposal to change the tokenomics of MKR, and that also, of course, will have an impact if it's approved by the maker holders. It will have an impact on how the MKR token is treated by the community, by governance, and in the ecosystem in general. So yes, it's super important. Also, we have like we have DAI. So it's different for the protocol to have like one stablecoin and also a governance token because we can use the stablecoin for like different things than what we do with the governance token. But I think like, well, we are a DAO and everything can change, so we'll see.
So I know we are now over time, but I wanted to quickly touch on this. So you don't think that GRT will ever manage the protocol upgrades for the graph?
Not GRT, the token, but we definitely want to have a DAO that, you know, is responsible for upgrading the protocol, but just not based on token voting, but rather, you know, a different type of voting system.
That's food for thought for everyone. But so thank you so much for everyone for listening and hanging out, and then also all of the panelists that like are wizards inside of the DAO space in their own right. And thank you guys so much.